Hey guys, I hope you guys are doing well. My name is Zahir, and let's actually start with a demo. So I have a file here open. It's called agent.py. I have a product URL. It's from books2scrape.com. So let me actually run that particular file and let's see what happens. This should take a few seconds. All right, it's found the input URL and it has essentially read a database. It was able to find the record in the database and it has returned the object that we see here. It's written all the properties of the object, which is basically the product object that we've created, content from last time. And there is a message here which says no price change detected. All right, let me quickly walk you guys through what we just did here. I'll open the goal from the last time. All right, guys, so this is part 2 of the Pydantic AI series. What you just saw was the demo, which I will again walk you guys through, and we look at each and every method that we created. I have basically migrated the code from a notebook to VS Code. Essentially, I will be sharing a repo link so that you guys can understand how we are talking to multiple tools. All right, let's quickly establish the goal. This is part 2 of the price monitoring agent tutorial. We actually created or accomplished essentially the first part, which is basically to scrape content for a given URL. Now in this particular video, that is part 2, we'll essentially store the scrape content in a database, and also depending on whether the price was changed or not, you'll see the logic on how we basically check whether the price has changed or not. We intend to send out a notification to a specific email ID. It's a simple tool. Let's see how we did that. So in case if you don't know, this is part 2 of the series. If you're here for the first time, let me go back to my YouTube channel and show you where you can find that. If you go to my YouTube channel, the title of this particular video, that is part 1, is how to build a price monitoring agent with Pydantic AI. You should be able to see the code there. There is a notebook link, and obviously I'll be sharing the full code and the repo in this particular video, so you can check the description. All right, let's get started. I'll quickly walk you guys through the project structure. I've created a directory called tools. This is not following any standards, not following any clean architecture or any other pattern. Just created this so that we can understand the code base. A tools directory because we have multiple tools. As you know, we intend to scrape the content for a given URL. That's the scraper.py. Let me just show you that. We intend to store the data in a database, which is basically the database ops. It has 3 methods, and each method will essentially be used like a tool. One is to essentially create a record. The other one is to read a product by URL. And the third one is read all products. We might not need this, but I've just created so that I can see all the records. And the third tool is mail.py. We'll be using SendGrid. You need to essentially sign up and create an API key on SendGrid. And you can simply send out emails for free. I think there is probably some limitations on the free tier. You might want to understand that, but it's completely free, at least for the demo purposes that I have built or that I've used here. All right, so these are the 3 different tools that we've created. Now let me quickly walk you guys through 2 files. One is agent.py. Agent.py essentially uses just one single agent. I'm calling it scraper agent, but it's actually the right name here is, it's essentially a monitoring agent. Let me rename it in the right place. All right, so it's essentially a monitoring agent, just one single agent accomplishing the 3 different tasks that we saw. There are 4 different tasks there, but we'll talk about it. And then another, sort of implementation or a feature implementation of Pydantic AI, which is essentially using the dependency injection capability in Pydantic AI. We have split the agent into 2 different agents. One agent's primary responsibility is just scrape the content and return the product object, and the monitoring agent essentially does the rest of the steps. Now there is no orchestration that is happening here. I'm just taking input from one agent and passing it to the other. But this was essentially to show you how dependency injection works here. There are multiple types of, or the multiple ways you can actually, use dependency injection feature here. But we'll stick to the example that I have created. All right, let's quickly, go through the code of agent.py. The code looks very similar to what you have seen in the part 1 of this particular video. We have an object. It's called product details, essentially a Pydantic class, and each and every attribute or field has very detailed description so that the LLM knows what each and every field means and what data that it needs to extract from the given markdown object, basically HTML content that it has scraped from a URL, right? And the other bit, you can ignore this one. I think I've just copied it from the previous one. We can ignore the monitoring agent response for now. The other obviously key part is the monitoring agent. Essentially, it's an agent class where we tell what LLM we are using. In this case, it's GPT-4o Mini. What is the result type that we are expecting? The result type is the product details class. And the system prompt. Now, system prompt is a detailed prompt. As you can see, you're a pricing agent. Your tasks are as follows, and we have basically broken down each and every task so that the LLM can essentially plan each and every step and do that with precision. So the LLM needs to basically, or it will receive a URL of a product. It needs to extract the product and pricing information from the given URL. It needs to check the database and check if the same product and thoroughly review the response. Once it has done that, it needs to compare the pricing information of the scraped content and the database. If there is a price difference, it needs to send out an email with highlighting the price difference along with the URL. And if there is no price difference, it doesn't need to obviously send out an email. Simple. That's the monitoring bit. And finally, we want it to store the product and pricing information in the database, irrespective of whether there was a price change or not, so that we can capture the time and basically the latest price every time we are essentially scraping the content. You can have your own business logic. This could look completely different, but I want you to see the capabilities of Pydantic AI here. All right. I have the product URL. It's books2scrape.com. It has been built so that you can practice scraping on that. It's safe to scrape. There are no issues there, so you can scrape that website as many times as possible. All right, so I'm going to clean my screen now and run this particular file once again, and let's see in detail what's happening. So warnings, you can ignore the warnings. All right, so it identified the input URL. It actually it has scraped the content. You will see the final output here. I've not printed the scraped content, but what it has done essentially is it has scraped the content, and it has looked up in the database, and it has found that particular URL and the record with that particular URL, the latest record, and it has extracted the latest record for that particular URL. It has done a price comparison, and it has essentially sent out the final object, the price object, like this. The code is here. You can see that. Let me actually bring this window down. Yeah, here it is. I'm printing just about all the attributes of that particular object. In the last, there is something called as message. Let's look at what the message is. It's saying no price difference detected. I've been running this for quite some time now, so it has not detected any price. But let me quickly show you the database ops. In database ops, I have two methods, two important methods. One is just to create a record, and the other is read product by URL. Okay. Now, how was the LLM, or how was the agent able to identify which product or which tool it needs to use? Let's quickly go back to agent.py and look at the tool argument, and you will see that we are parsing a list of tools, object tool with scrape URL, as well as the context flag, whether this actually takes context or not. and you'll see that we passed it script URL, read product by URL, create product, send email, and each of these tools have detailed doc strings, which helps the agent understand which tool it needs to use for what task. It's a very simple implementation. You've seen this across all the agentic platforms today, including the one that we wrote. I'll share the link of that particular video as well. It's a custom agent. All right. So here's what we'll do. Now we need to obviously test whether it can identify the price difference or not. I'm going to get to this particular window. This is freesqldatabase.com. I'm using this to essentially store the records and edit the data. You can essentially sign up for that particular account here. Okay. And as you can see, there is a record. Yeah. So the record is I see that it has not created the latest record, at least the last time we ran it, interestingly. Okay, it hasn't created a record, 1149. Okay. So what we'll do right now is we will make changes to the price, and I'm going to make it $53. We're essentially editing the latest record. I'm going to do this for you can actually add tags and then detect that, so that it sends out detailed email. We can test that as well, or you can test that as well. All right, we have made change to that particular record. Now what I intend to do is run the agent once again and see if it is able to essentially identify the difference this time. Okay, so the agent is running. And it found that particular product, and let's see if it is able to identify the difference. Yes, it was able to identify the difference. It also created a record, and it has written the new ID. And as you can see, it also sent out an email using SendGrid, and we'll get to that in a bit. And also, finally, it has printed the object that we need. So you can see it has detected the price difference detected. Scrape price is 51.77. Database price is 53.77. The difference is £2. Great. Now let me actually show you whether it has sent out an email or not. So I go back here, and there it is. Looks safe. This is basically me creating a dummy email for demo purposes, and it has rightly attached a URL. It has shared the script price, database price, difference. Remember, none of the content here is written by me. Everything is basically generated or orchestrated by the LLM here. Beautiful. All right, so this was one way to execute this particular problem, or essentially pass multiple tools to one single agent and execute that, and we see that it works, right? But this time we will use another technique called multi-agent. Let me quickly walk you guys through the code. The code is very similar to what you've already seen, but there is only one change. Essentially, we've created or split the tasks of the agent, the monitoring agent, into two agents. One is scraper agent. Essentially, its primary task is to only scrape, and by going by the the system prompt, you can see that you will receive a URL and you need to extract the product and pricing information from the given URL. That's all. And the result type that I'm expecting is product details object, and the only tool that I'm passing is the scrape URL tool that we have written in scraper.py. Simple, right? The other agent is the monitoring agent, where we are asking it to essentially, again, it'll receive the URL, but it'll also receive the pricing information from scraper agent, check the database for the same product, and thoroughly review the response. Compare the prompt is very similar to what we have seen in the agent.py class, and we are passing it the relevant tools that it needs to essentially accomplish these tasks. Now, the question that you might have is, how is one agent talking to another? Like, how is one agent handing off the response to another agent, or how is it basically essentially the agent selection happening here? I couldn't find any documentation on how to basically enable communication, like how we see in Crew AI, or how we see that in OpenAI Swarm, where you have the handoff method, or in the case of AWS multi-agent orchestrator, you will probably see that there is an orchestrator that essentially decides what agent needs to execute which task here. But in this case, I have used a very simple technique. I've taken the scraper agent's response and I am passing that as a dependency to the monitoring agent. You can see here, let me go back to the agent. In the monitoring agent, I have created a dependency type, which is basically product details. Remember, that is a response type in the scraper agent, or a result type. Result type is product details object or class. And for monitoring agent, that's the dependency type. So I'm telling it that, you will get a product detail object as input, and you to essentially use that and execute the task. So if I show you how I was able to create the dependencies, I was basically able to add the dependency as context using the monitoring agent .system prompt decorator. Essentially, this adds the dependency as a string object to the system prompt, and from there the agent is essentially able to get the context and execute that particular task. And if you see the prompt here and that I'm running, I'm monitoring agent .run sync. I'm essentially asking it to use product details to monitor price change. That's it. That's the prompt. But the dependency is the product object that we just received from scraper agent. Simple. And we're printing the response. So let's run this particular method now. We'll actually go back to that particular. It's the same URL I'm running. So we will, let me 50. We'll load the latest record and then make changes to that particular record. Let's add maybe 50. Well, let's change, let's add VAT and deduct the record. Okay, so we have the latest record here, record number 19. And this time we will add VAT to that. So we will add VAT of 5 pounds essentially. Yeah, so price before tax remains 51.77 and price after tax will be 46.77. Yeah, I think that's the right math. All right, so we have that covered. Now let's go back. You can see that there are no emails here. Let's go back. Yeah, it's the same URL, product URL, and we will run this code now. I'm hoping everything works as expected. Okay. Multi-agent.py. I'm just gonna run it from here. So it has started running. You can already see some warnings and it should start working in a bit. All right, so it was able to extract. Scraper agent has finished its work. As you can see, it was able to extract $51.77 or pounds, which is essentially coming in from a live URL. What it was also able to do is look up in the database and it has found that particular project, and it was also able to get the, it was also able to detect the change. Interestingly, it hasn't sent out an email. That's disappointing. Previous price was 46.7 and the new price is 51.77, a difference of 5 pounds. I don't see an email because I'm sure the email wasn't sent. All right. That's a little disappointing. We should have received the email. So let's see what went wrong. Have I added everything? Yeah, the send email part is here as well. Scrape the product and pricing data received from the scraper agent into the database. Compare the price information. Everything is as is. This should have sent it. Send an email highlighting the difference. I don't know. In the URL, maybe that's the only change I had added the previous time. Okay, I'm gonna save this. I need to basically make the same change again. I need to go here, wait for the latest record to load. We created a record 20. Yeah. And we don't have the record yet. Yeah, so as you can see, this was the latest record. I'm just going to delete these two records so that I'm going to delete this record now, so that we still look at record number 19 and then treat that as a difference again. Everything looks good. I'm going to run the agent again, multi-agent.py, and hoping that this time it is able to detect everything the way we want it to detect it. We scroll this up. All right, so it has detected, it was scraped the content 51.77. It also found the particular product in the database. It is doing a comparison right now, hopefully. And at this time it was able to send out the email. A price change detected for light in the TETIC. New price is 50.77, while the old price was 46.7, indicating a difference of £5. Perfect. And it also obviously created a new record. As you can see, record number 21. Let's go to email. There's a new email that has just come in, and it has added a product URL as well. All right, guys. I think we need to add some retry mechanism or some other ways to essentially make it more robust, but that's something that you can try if you're working on this. Do let me know how you were able to make this better. But I hope you found this useful. I'm going to share the repo of this particular project in the description. You can play around with that. The only few elements that you'd probably need is one is the SendGrid API to essentially send out an email, an OpenAPI key. Subscribe to OpenAPI key. They'll ask you for a credit card in the beginning, but you'll get millions of tokens to play around. You will, if you're just using OpenAI to learn something, you will never probably spend a single dollar. And database URL, we use freesqldatabase.com to create a free URL, and you need to obviously mention the to email and the from email. From email is something that you verify your SendGrid account with. All right, guys, I hope you found this useful. Please share it with your network, and do share your feedback in the comment section. If you like this video and if you think this channel is worth subscribing, please do subscribe and share this with your network. Thank you.